So Nick and Carmen from Because of Why, thank you for joining me today on Brite Cast. Let's start off with Because of Why, essentially, you know, a little bit about your story and why you're doing what you're doing, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
That's good. Why don't you go ahead and start?
All right. She loves putting me in the fire first. So my name is Nick, and why we started, well, my version of why we started Because of Why was essentially, for me, when I was in middle school, I had like an event that really hurt me as a kid, and it pushed me into a certain space where I didn't value myself. I didn't know who I was. My confidence was at its lowest. I pushed myself away from my friends, my family. And I felt like the victim in life, like, oh, everyone has to praise me or everyone has to come to me. And I felt like a fisherman instead of the hunter, where the hunter goes out and makes opportunities. I was a fisherman. Everyone come to me.
Yeah.
Everything good come to me. And I was just expecting everything bad. And it was just, I had a terrible mindset throughout middle school. And then high school, same thing, hung out with not the best of people.
Yeah.
And I got myself into trouble a good amount of times. And right after I left high school, like we both left high school, so that's actually where we met. We have a funny story about that.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. And right when we left high school, like everything changed. Like we cut off all of our friends, like people, like our circles of influence, and we just went to work on ourselves. And what I mean by that is the old Barnes and Noble, like around here in Manassas, we just were reading, just constantly, like so obsessed with how can I build my mindset? How can I be more confident? How can I be a better version of myself that no one talks about? And we just started researching just so much questions of life, of everything.
Was there something that made you turn that corner, or just like not being around those people where you're like, oh, this life could be better if we just, you know, get a little smarter, get a little more wise, you know? I mean, that's what happens for anyone, right?
I believe it's like a light bulb that clicked. It wasn't any more of around my circle of influence of friends that limited my thinking of, if I wanted to think big, I lowered my standards to them. Instead of raising my standards and getting them to my level, I lowered my standards, and I felt I kept a cap on myself because of my involvement with them.
Right.
And right when I cut that off, it was just like, dude, it's a big world of possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more that you can do. So what was your experience with, you know, the same time frame? Did you have like the same sort of troubles growing up?
It was a little similar. I think our stories are a little different. Like growing up, I had like a crazy house, and so I kind of got to a point where I was hanging out with the wrong people and doing the wrong things, very similar. But I was 15 and I was able to kind of see my current friend group, and then they always had like the older crowd that hung out with them, and you could kind of see like everyone looked the same. Like it was like this path of like, wow.
I know where I'm going to be in 5 or 10 years,
And that was scary. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that when I'm like at that point. And so I literally sat there in my room. I was like tearing up. I was like, and I started writing myself a contract. And I was like, this is who I want to be. I'm not going to do X, Y, Z, this, and all of the things. And I just kind of stuck with it. I think that I was tired of repeating the same mistake. Like it sounds like I was pretty wise at that point, but I really wasn't. I wrote something enough that kept me in line until I could figure out what was the next step. And
well, if you don't have the same sort of structure that some other, you know, other great parents, I don't know about your parent situation, but if you don't have that, then, you know, you're going to either go the other direction, or you have to start to put some discipline on yourself to, you know, become better than what you are being shown in front of your face.
Absolutely.
So was that separately or at the same time? Were you guys together? So, okay.
Yet.
So
it
when
wasn't until we were like, what? Like I was in my junior year, Nick was in his senior year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when we met.
And where did you go?
Patriot
High School.
Okay. All right. I mean, that didn't even exist when I was in school. So I went to OP back in the day. Yeah.
Okay.
Back in the day now. So that's cool that you guys kind of separately did that. And then at what point did you guys get together, when you were at that age, senior and junior?
Yeah.
It was actually, all right, this is going to tell our age right now.
Yeah.
So we met in high school,
Yeah.
in weightlifting class, because we're all about fitness and bettering ourselves. And we met COVID. That was the year. That's when we met.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
we met there, and everything just happened. I mean, if you want to tell the story.
Like we literally had class for I think like 2-3 months before they shut everything down. They were like, I thought there was a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I mean, it was looking that way for a minute.
yeah. And I was like, what is going on? But before that, we were in a class and like the teacher had said something, because we went to school all 4 years together, but we never spoke. Like we didn't notice.
I didn't even know she existed.
World. Yeah. And
Probably is a good thing, maybe. You know, if you both were on like a positive journey separately, and if you would have had to like, either of you would have had to convince each other, that wouldn't have been easy to do. Or you would have just avoided, you know?
That's very true.
So continue.
It was just really quick. Like the teacher was saying something and I didn't hear it because I was talking to my friend, and I was like, he was next to me. We were powerlifting. I was like, what did the teacher say? Because the teacher, you know, he'd like pick on you if like you didn't pay attention. So I was like, I'm not dealing with this today. And he just like shrugged his shoulders, and I turned to my friend and I was like, God, what an idiot. And then he was like telling his friends that I was stuck up. And so this whole time we had like this idea of each other.
A different word for stuck up.
Yeah. You're allowed to say it. I told you that last night.
It's all good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so how long did it take before it was like, oh, this person isn't what I thought they were? Is that part of like your own personal journey and not judging people and stuff as you're growing up? You're like, oh, maybe they have a story too.
Yeah.
You know?
No, definitely. I think it was like immediate. As soon as we actually started talking to each other, we kind of noticed that mentality difference. Like, I think especially when you're already set on you want to be a better person, like especially in high school, like that's a different mentality, because most people don't really talk about that or think about that or really want to engage in that conversation. And so being able to have,
don't know how.
Exactly. Yeah. And so being able to have that conversation, I think deepened our relationship together so young.
So how did you make her your girlfriend? Did she have to lift a certain amount of weights or something?
It's like a firefighter test.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like traditional thing. We just went to like some frozen yogurt together. Okay. And then we went to the gym together. And then just from there, we just had deep conversations. And I believe our relationship really took off when we went in All Saints parking lot, and we were just like uncovering everything.
Yeah.
We were just in tears. Like that was like I felt like my lowest moment. And it was just like what are we gonna do? And it just felt like, again, there's an array of possibilities we just didn't know they existed.
Yeah.
And like I remember straight out of high school, my parents were like, "What are you gonna do? You're gonna do cybersecurity?" And I was like, "No, that's not my thing." But they're like, "Hey, man, your cousin's doing it. He's making good money. He's this." And I'm like, I mean, that's true, but that's just not me.
Right.
And they're like, well, "What do you want to do? You gotta have a plan." I'm like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
And
well, I think it's crazy that people expect them to know.
Yeah.
I went to school for marketing, and I'm minored in music industry, but like it was just because my dad was like, "You need a job.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna be able to live here forever." So I was like, "All right, well, this is good enough," you know. But to think of someone at 17 or 18 to actually know what they want to do, that's crazy.
It is, and like that's so like around that time, I was still working at Jimmy Jazz in the mall. At Manassas Mall. So I sold shoes, and that's actually how we started our entrepreneurship journey. Yeah. Is we did resell. Okay. So I got like
good money in that.
Yeah, I had access to like all the exclusive shoes, so I would reserve them. And I don't know if I'm supposed to do that. But we were just we're flipping those, and then we started going to Goodwills and like Salvation Army and finding like these old collectible items. Yeah. Like I saw you have some samurai swords. I was like, dude, those are awesome.
Those are my wife's. Be careful.
Oh yeah. I'm not touching those. Yeah. But we were just giving them to the collectors again and reconnecting with that because people love these things. And I was just like, wow. So we started a business with that, and that was during COVID. Mm-hmm. So like again, straight out of high school, like we wanted to be entrepreneurs. Right. And again, this comes from both of my parents. And like they're just so used to like job security, which that's how most a lot of people grow up. Yeah. And they didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, and they were just so scared of me, like going down this path. And I remember we had the conversation. Carmen was there, and I was getting yelled at. I was getting flamed. Oh, that was a crazy day.
I excused myself from the room.
Oh yeah.
But I think it was a needed conversation. I think we talk about it a lot. Like having the hard conversations is what sets kind of it apart. Yeah,
as long as you're doing it in love, then that's necessary. Especially like if you are going to be an entrepreneur and that scares them, they need to know that you're like being smart about it. You're not just like, you know, hustling drugs or something. Like, I mean, that can make like a lot of money, but you know, it's probably not the best, you know, solution. But I mean, no one in my family is an entrepreneur either. Well, I guess my sister was for a while with her husband. They owned an auto shop in Manassas Park, but like we didn't know, no one grew up that way. Yeah. It's always W-2 employees.
It's the risk, the fear of failure.
Yeah. Well, and then also like not knowing how to like test the market and not knowing like, okay, if I, you know, wouldn't I know that selling shoes is going to make me enough money to, buy a house or something at some point? Maybe not, but you could learn a lot about how business works and margins and stuff like that. So by the time you're ready to really go big in another business, you already have those skills.
Yeah.
So how did they get over it? Just that conversation?
Well,
or are they over it? Doesn't look like they are. Okay.
Yeah, they are. It was
Very
a
supportive.
tough pill for them to swallow.
Yeah.
At first, because it was just like, I don't want to go the path that they expected me to. Because my mom's from the Philippines, and she told me, like, this is my dream to put you through college.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guarantee every foreign parent's dream for their kid. And I was just like, okay, let's come to an agreement. I'll go to college for something that I want to do, of what I'm going to actually use in my life, the skill set. But I'm going to pursue this entrepreneur path, and I'm never going to give up. I'm going to make sure this happens, because I just had a feeling that we were meant for something bigger than just ourselves, but something of changing other people's lives. And I was like, I can't let that opportunity pass.
And that's tough if you're following someone else's vision that you're employed. And what if you don't agree on what their vision is? That's really difficult to do. So, I applaud you guys for, doing it so young. So from that point, when did you start because of why? When did that actually come to fruition in your heads?
Yeah, that was a funny journey. I think, honestly, actually, it started, so we used to go, while we were still reselling, we used to go out to DC on the weekends, and we had like this little interview mic, and we would go ask
It
people.
looks like a 70s mic.
I know, it's so funny. Oh, we thought we were so cool. I mean, I think I'm still cool.
Yeah, we like dressed up in suits and everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And we would literally just ask people like, how did you get to where you are? Like, how did you get to the point where you are? Because, I mean, they look successful. It was kind of like those cool guys on, like, YouTube or, like, Reels that, like, go ask, like, millionaires. Except we were just asking people on DC on the Hill.
Right.
And, like, all of them at the end. And they were super open. And they always talked about their purpose. Like, they had a why, whether it changed over time or if it was just then. They always knew, or, like, whatever the story was, they always had a purpose in what they were doing. And so I think we were literally sitting on our, like, random futon we shoved in a
That
room.
accidentally stabbed.
And
You stabbed a futon?
I got excited opening it. I was like,
yeah, we don't let him open packages anymore. With,
Well, not
like,
that
furniture.
way. You do it from the edge.
yeah, I don't know what I was thinking.
And I think we wanted to do something bigger than just resell, because, I mean, resell is really cool, right? There's so many versions of it. There's so much you can do, but I think it just wasn't something we were so connected to anymore.
Right.
And it's like, we knew that there would be something that we would love and connect with and want to grow. And so we sat there with, like, the LLC, like, registration page open. Like, we had just decided, we're like, all right, we're just going to figure it out. What are we doing? And so we sat there for, like, I don't know, like a good hour. Like, what are we going to call this thing?
Like something that can be, it's like a legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know what it was, but we were ready to pay for it. And so we were like, okay, we sat there. And I honestly have no clue how the name came up, but somehow one of us said because of why.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And so we threw it on there, and we were like, here it is.
That's one thing that I've always found crazy about us is if we feel like really good about it, like we have a huge why and purpose into something that we're going to pursue, we go all in. Like, this was a time when we were making really good money with resale. Like, and we're just like, we were killing it. And we were just like, we dropped it. And that wasn't the smartest idea at the moment. But it's really,
She didn't like that. You did that. She would like to taper off a little bit more.
yeah.
But
We
it
just
was
went
like,
all in.
yeah, I think, again, it's kind of like that. I don't like calling it a balance, but, like, we had enough of the mentality of, like, we were willing to drop everything for it. But we were also semi-plan. It's like there's a plan, but
had
like
some
you're
money
okay.
set aside for the in between.
Yeah. And so, like, I think it took a good year for it to really take off and really understand what because of why was going to be or what it is. But once we really figured it out, we, like, took it and ran.
Yeah. So in that journey, that's a good segue. Like, so what is it exactly for people that don't know? And, like, you have, like, some different leadership levels and programs and stuff like that. So maybe you talk about what it is first, and then some of those different events and stuff like that.
Yeah. So because of why, just the simplest way, it's a youth development coaching company. And what that means is we try to keep I know English. We try to.
It's okay. We can cut it out.
There you go. We try to keep it as broad as possible, right? So youth development coaching, anything that will help the youth develop And for us, it's specifically leadership.
Yeah.
As we want them to understand that if you can be a leader to yourself, then you can lead other people. Because I think
Not the other way around.
because it's like a lot of us are, even when we're growing, whether we're working for someone else or ourselves, we throw ourselves in position when we're leading other people, and that grows us. But then you hear about burnout and you hear about like all of these other things, and it's like, well, imagine if you had worked on yourself first.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had built the systems that you needed to understand where you're at so that you can then help other people.
Right.
Like growing up, my mom always talked about like, you can't help someone that's drowning if you're drowning too.
Absolutely.
So it's like that mentality to me has just ran across everything. So all of our programs are based off of some form of leadership and growing their leadership in something, especially like we talk a lot about physical fitness. We believe so importantly that, especially young kids need to understand
Get
you
your
need
energy
to get
out, man, in a good way.
Yeah.
Yes, like if you're like fidgeting and doing something, like join a sport or go for a run. There's workouts on YouTube. There's so many ways to do it. Like there's no excuses, and that can be your start.
Right.
But yeah.
So with the mental side of it, because I think they obviously go hand in hand. We have brains and bodies and stuff. So are there certain books that you guys read that you kind of push people towards? Do you have so let's say someone comes in at 14, has no idea, maybe has a tough life, but they want to grow. Is there something like, this is the first thing that I want you to do?
That's a really good question.
That is
because
a really good
we've
question.
read tons of books.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we have, like a season of reading and learning, and then a season of taking action, like no reading and learning. Because my challenge was in the past was I just kept reading and I never took action.
Yeah.
I had all this great wisdom and knowledge, but it wasn't being applied.
Yeah.
So I would say, for me, the greatest book would be David Goggins.
Okay.
That would be that, and also Bob Proctor.
Okay.
So
who's Bob Proctor? What's the
I
name of the
hearing
book?
that. I love hearing that.
I'm sure I know the title.
You
What's
Were
the title?
Born Rich. So
I don't know that one.
He was this guy. He's like a Jim Rohn
Okay.
in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and like a lot of his philosophy are things that you're not taught in school. And this is how I just unlocked everything in the world. Like, oh my gosh, that's how it works. Like he talks about the things, how important it is like the way you think. If you really want to change the results you get in your life, you got to change the way you think, the way you speak to yourself. No one taught me that.
Yeah.
And it's just going.
Well, they don't know it.
All these exactly. They don't even know it themselves. And yeah, that's essentially mine.
I think for me, I feel like I would take it because I feel like everyone has like their thing, like everyone has their thing they have to overcome to really open up. So like for me specifically, was always like The Richest Man in Babylon helped me. Because I feel like all of the lessons it taught, whether it was about money or not, I felt like it always entailed life. But in general, I think everyone should read.
I haven't heard that. Richest Man in Babylon. I haven't read that.
Well, the one that I really think you should read, and I think everyone should read, is Make Your Bed.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Navy Admiral.
Yeah.
Nick Raven. Yeah.
I truly believe that it's the small things that add up that then make us feel like it's a bigger problem. And I feel like that's something that happens across the board, no matter how old you are or anything.
Right.
And so realizing that little things can add up in a good way too is so important.
And so like his premise is first thing in the morning, make your bed. At least you have that one thing done. Yeah. Like Jordan Peterson kind of talks about that too. Like, I do that. I also been taking cold showers for a while, first thing in the morning. I do Wim Hof breathing stuff that I've been doing for maybe 2 years. We'll get into that later. But so every kid is different, right? So you would kind of depend on where they're at and could they even take some book that's going to be really heady, or if it's just like start making your bed and start doing 20 push-ups first thing in the morning.
Yeah, it really just depends on the kid. I mean, even right now, I think a lot of kids are like very weary of reading.
Yeah,
so
because they're reading like Socrates or Shakespeare in school that they don't really care about.
I mean, I still don't get Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I don't know how to spell
I have to
it.
watch the movie, and that's the only way I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
So, in these like different types of like programs and stuff that you have, is there like a beginner one? Is there like, different tiers to it?
I feel like they're just more custom based.
Okay.
So like our one-to-one coaching, it's very personalized depending on the kid. Like each of us works with the kid by just like it's just me and the kid, or it's just Nick and the kid. And So everything is based on where they're at. There are some kids that have gone through whatever they've gone through and they have this very mature mindset and they have to work on certain things. And then we have the kids that don't know anything about anything, but they really want to get better. Or the kids that, they really don't care right now, but it's not that they don't care. It's just
they don't know.
They're closed off and they don't know.
Yeah.
And so there's just an array. So one-to-one is definitely a little easier to be personalized. When it's things like workshops or like after school programs, we kind of set it from the very beginning. As soon as we start the programs, they're always like, I guess you could say beginner, like, how do we start with leadership?
Right.
What does it even mean? Let's break it down so it doesn't seem like this big, scary thing. Like, the principle is number one. Like, no, you're just as important. It's cool. Like, you guys can have the same amount of power of changing someone's life and changing your own life.
Yeah. So there is kind of a 101 for the group people in general. So do kids come to you, or is it parents being like, my kid sucks? So
it's both.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely both. I think we've had an array of people kind of come to us. We've had it be referrals through schools, counselors, parents, friends. The kids will reach out via Instagram. That's usually the place they'll reach out through. So it's kind of like a little bit of everything.
And is it just like in Northern Virginia? Are you mostly Ashburn area? Or, I mean, you do a lot of networking out here. So is it getting bigger and busier out this way?
Yeah, Greater Prince William is definitely like a good sweet spot. I think it's because we started here.
Yeah.
And so just that repetitiveness has created that trust that has helped us build our business here. We actually have virtual clients all over US, but we do have we have most of them here in Northern Virginia.
It's okay. Yeah. So how do you get those virtual clients? Is it just Instagram and word of mouth?
Oh, social media, but also we go to, again, this is something that like open our minds to possibilities is these seminars, events, and conferences.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were business oriented, mindset oriented. So we're in the same space with people who they're trying to think next level, bigger.
Yeah.
And they have overall the similar mindset, not same, but similar. And they're just like, my kid won't listen to me. And it's like, I've heard every parent say this where their kid doesn't listen to them and then someone else says it. And then the kid is like, oh, ding, ding, ding.
Oh, yeah, exactly. A cool person that's closer to my age that's not like in control of me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I was pretty good at listening to my parents. My brother and sister were not. So I was the golden child and I went to college and did all that stuff. I don't know that nowadays, I don't think colleges, it really depends on what you want to do. There's not going to be a fast track to what you guys are doing in college. You're going to spend a couple $100,000 and then be in debt for who knows how long.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
So are you going to school?
I am.
Okay.
George Mason.
Okay. What are you studying there?
Business management.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That works perfectly. Yeah. I mean, even though you're like learning a lot of that, but that's good to have that under your belt. So, I didn't know what 401ks were until I went to college. No one told me about that.
Yeah.
No one told me about retirement plans. I mean, in fairness, I was 17, 18. So why are they talking about retirement plans? But if you start now with the 401k, you're going to be a millionaire by 60, unless something terrible happens.
Yeah.
A zombie apocalypse or something of the sort.
Or even credit cards.
Never know.
Yeah, don't use them. Don't use unless you are very like particular and you pay it off. It's American Express. And you pay it off at the end of the month or something. Like I did like who Dave Ramsey is? Yeah. Like the financial guy.
Makeover. Yeah.
Yeah, I paid off all my debt like 2008 or something, and then I've never been in debt since. So I don't have to make as much in order to still have the same quality of life. Now I don't have to be worried about 25% interest rates and crazy stuff like that. So stay away from it if you can. Absolutely. So do you have any like great success stories? I'm sure you do. But is there anything like sticks out in your mind like this person is totally different and I see them like going to be the next Grant Cardone or David Goggins or something?
David Goggins. I want to start with one real quick. I got to.
We have all of our awesome kids. I love all of our kids.
I'm not going to say his name. I remember we were coaching basketball at one point. And I used to play a lot of basketball, and I really coach though because sports comes down to like the biggest fundamental, and it's the mindset. And I see a lot of athletes, they go straight in, oh, I'm going to kill, I'm going to crush it, and they just give up.
Yeah.
Or they say, oh, I'm not born like this, or they're born to be like that, an athlete. I'm like, dude, it's just the work you put in. And I remember this one kid.
Well, I'm not going to be able to dunk.
You never know.
Hey,
Not without a trampoline.
I saw a
I can do it with a
5'7"
trampoline,
Asian
for sure.
dude dunk. It's crazy.
Really?
Yes.
That's not in my gene pool, I don't think. But if I believe it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
gotta
so
work for it.
continue.
And this one kid, Carmen and I, we were just like, he has a different mentality, like from all these other kids. And it felt like Kobe or Michael Jordan. Like this kid was committed. And he really practiced his shots, his shooting. He was open to feedback. And that's something that's rare.
Yeah.
And they were middle school, 8th graders. And he was open to feedback and he's willing to learn. And the one thing that always got him down was his self-talk. That's a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how he talked himself. I always say, like, talk to yourself like you would your own mother.
Yeah.
And you start respecting yourself a lot more. And I just remember how he texted me one day. He's just like, thank you so much, Coach Nick. Like, you really believed in me. You pushed me hard. And I feel more confident in the way I play the game and who I am in myself. And I was just like,
that plays a difference when you go into high school too. If you walk in first day of 9th grade, like
act like you're scared.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll smell that right off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely a big difference. So what about for you?
Oh, I think there's so many to pick from just because I love my number one thing is just doing everything possible to see the kids grow. And I think of one specifically, and she wants to be like not she wants to be. She is literally an entrepreneur.
Oh wow,
Has
already.
been,
I already
yeah.
talked about it.
Lemonade.
No, she
Like what
sells
stuff?
like bracelets. She sells
Custom bracelets.
she sells a lot of things. She's pretty good. But her goal is to be like this big businesswoman. And I see it in her, right? Like you see it. And the really awesome part about her is like she's gone from a certain point where she was to now, like even especially in middle school. I always bring up middle school because that's kind of the age where we kind of like you can either be like really, really awkward or like you just kind of want to follow the crowd.
Right.
And so that's a really big thing in middle school, like following the crowd. And so when we have these after school programs, it's really big for like the kids to like mess around and try and be the cool kid.
Yeah.
But she will always, no matter what, like, and she always hangs out with lots of different people. But she'll always focus on the lesson. She'll always be open to the conversation. She will always show up to the extra calls. Like we give them access to extra calls. We've even moved her to our high school calls just because she's so committed.
She's killing it, man.
And it's like it's one of those things where you see a seed planted and you kind of see them sprout and then all of a sudden they start shooting and they're ready. Like they're ready to grab the sun. They're ready to grab the water. Like whatever you give them, they'll take and just kind of make it their own.
It's actually interesting though. Like now that you say that, I just want to ask her like, what drives you?
Right.
Like out of all these other kids, there's like 100 other kids, and you're the like mainly the only one that's showing up constantly, and you're just always open. Your mind is open. Like Zig Ziglar says, your mind's like a parachute. It's not gonna work if it's not open.
Right.
Right. And her yeah, she's a really committed person.
That would be interesting, especially as you start to get to know other kids that are like her. Like, what are these defining factors?
Yeah.
And how can you build up other people to have? I mean, sometimes you're just born with it, you know. Sometimes it's Maybelline. I don't even know if you guys know that reference, but maybe
what
it's
the hell that meant.
Maybelline. That's it's an old '90s reference. But you know, but sometimes people just have the drive. Like I was a little bit more driven in some ways but I was the baby, so I was always having to, you know, get table scraps or whatever. I mean, just kidding. They fed me the same amount, but I was like having to prove myself a little bit more. And you know, one thing, as you're saying, middle school and everything, I was homeschooled 7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys have any way to reach those kids, but a lot of those kids in middle school are not prepared for. And then I went to OP freshman year, so I was not ready for that personally. So I was just having my skateboard in the corner and
You used to skate?
wearing Jinkos and everything, which Jinkos are back now.
Yes, they are.
I mean, I'm not going to wear them, but you know, so I don't know if you could find a way to reach those kids, but they need it just as much as the ones that are in school.
We'd love to reach them. I think we just haven't quite figured out how to like get connected in that community.
Yeah, they don't do a lot outside of like so we had like roller skating parties and stuff like that, but it really was like maybe once a month I saw people, and I only saw the other kids that I went to church with. But the rest of the time I was isolated. We had 20 acres across Manassas, so there was no other kids around. So I taught myself algebra and
Taught yourself algebra, dude. That's some
through looking at the answers, and then I was able to slowly figure it out, and then I was able to like finally pass the test. But I was like, I'm not going to be able to teach myself anything. Like it took so much time. So I was like, I got to go to school. One for friends, but two for, education, because it really wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's not a slight on people that know how to teach better, but so what do you see the next like year or so of where you're going to go?
Oh, it's so exciting. I think the funny part is like almost the rest of this year is planned out.
Oh, nice.
So I guess if you could take it the year coming, I think for us, it's really looking at how can we systematize what we have and then begin to train to hire.
Yeah.
Because for us, especially like working with kids, like you have to find someone or the group of people that we're hiring, they have to align because
right.
working with kids, their minds are so malleable. Like if you're the cool person that's talking to them, everything you say, they'll ingest.
Yeah.
Everything. It's like you don't realize that even if you make a joke that was about traffic or something, like that's how they begin to talk about traffic or like
yeah.
Like it's the small things that we don't realize that they have to align. Or for example, social media.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't think people understand how crazy digital footprint is. Like when we first started doing all of these things with kids, like we don't have anything bad on social media, but the first thing, all the kids, as soon as they started getting comfortable with us and everything, they literally made Facebook accounts. Like they made Facebook accounts to go through our Facebook. They went through our Instagrams and TikToks and everything. They're like, "Oh my God, you guys are engaged. Oh my God, this." I was like, "How do you know my life?" And it's just everyone has access to it,
right?
And even if you have a private account, like someone will have access to it. And so you have to align. Working with kids is such a special place, and especially when it's working on their mindset and their leadership, the way you want them to grow. And so we're kind of figuring it out.
Yeah. I definitely want to say this is like we visual, like, I mean, me personally, I go over our goals every single morning. I just picture in my head because I mean, in order to have it here, you got to see it here. Yeah. You got to really believe in it. And I'm going to start with a song from Def Leppard. I believe it's Pyromania. It's called Actions Not Words.
Okay.
Actions Not Words. And what I mean by that is people we hire, I want to see that you are doing exactly what you tell me.
Yeah.
When you tell me you believe in yourself, I want to feel that from you. I want to smell it from you. When you say you take care of yourself, I want to see that you take care of yourself. Well, that
should be a little obvious. Yeah. A little more obvious in the mindset part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I hear a lot nowadays, and I see a lot nowadays, where people say they are something, but they're just not doing it. And I just think that's why Carmen and I, we go to the gym a lot and we take care of ourselves because we are the role models of these kids.
Oh, absolutely.
If they see us with a negative attitude, we're completely out of shape, they're not going to respect us.
Yeah.
They don't want to be around someone who they don't look up to.
Right.
And it's just when we hire someone, they got to be exactly what you tell me you are.
Right. Yeah. Do you have an idea of that vetting process, what it's going to look like? People your age or older or younger or...
It's not necessarily.
Can't get too much younger.
That'd be crazy. It's not.
This 12-year-old is killing it. You never know.
Met some ones like
you never know. It's not necessarily about the age, though.
Yeah.
It's the mentality.
Right.
And it's again like our standards are up here a lot for what we want to see, what we expect. And if they don't make those standards, hey, we're not going to lower our standards to get to your level. You got to get up here. And if you're willing to do that, let's do it.
I think we went to something similar. Like our current program, it's called Accelerator. It's specifically for high school students. We're actually going to be, it's hosted at the chamber office. And so like every Saturday for 12 Saturdays for 2 hours, we have this group of high school students coming in, learning about leadership and workforce development. We have speakers coming in. There'll be networking events, the whole thing. But what we had them do is like we had them fill out an application. We had them go through an interview. And so that kind of gave us like an insight of like, how people can look like on paper versus how they can look like when you talk to them. Yeah. And so like, especially with like AI, like you can be like, okay, this is really good paper.
Yeah.
And
this is too good.
It's like, wow. Man, don't get me wrong. I know you can be really good at writing, but you can also kind of tell sometimes. So like, but again, no judgment. It's like, okay, well, maybe you wrote it first and then you had it put it through, whatever the answer is. So being able to really get to know them via video to make sure that they were actually committed to the program. that was like the biggest thing for us. Like because I took like HR courses to be able to understand like the kind of the like intake and like being the back end kind of boring stuff. So that part is like set.
Why'd you say boring?
Because it is like, I'll be honest.
Not
like,
to everyone, but maybe to you.
Yeah, like to me it was boring, but it was necessary.
Yeah.
And you have to do the boring things sometimes to have the necessary things. And so like the back end stuff, like how to hire them, like we're ready. It's just finding out what is that person that we want to hire. What do we want that to be?
Right.
Because
like what position are they going to take over? Because you guys still want to do some coaching on it too.
Yeah.
Is it just like maybe they're running one of their own programs or something possibly? You know, that's kind of what you have time to figure out over the next year.
Yeah, definitely. And we always talk about it's like you have to know what you want before you ask someone to do it. It's like if you don't even know what you want, then we can't get mad at them for not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, is it just like replicating your tasks? Like, so they could take over at a new school running
Like
a program?
after school program. So that just
yeah.
keeps expanding over time.
Yeah.
We don't have to be at like a million different places like we already are.
Yeah.
But we can stick to the networking, building the relationships, and just keep funneling it out.
And maybe, or like even, especially for the non-virtual stuff, someone in a county that runs that, or like runs Eastern Prince William or something, you know what I mean? It's like that might be good. That way you guys don't have to bounce everywhere, but you have to, you do have to vet them. So it's like,
absolutely. And that's one of the most important things to us.
Yeah, no, definitely.
make them do like some David Goggins style training or something.
Calm down.
And ice out for 5
hard,
minutes.
yeah.
20 miles. Yes, do an Ironman. Maybe you can be in here.
Yeah, exactly. So you got an ice bath. Did you get a new one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still filling it up. That takes a lot of water.
Really? Okay. All right.
We live in an apartment, so it's like
Okay.
in our balcony. So we have to like travel with buckets from the kitchen to like.
You don't have a hose?
No. I have a trash can.
Okay. Yeah. Have you used it at all yet?
No, not yet.
No. Okay. Well, it's going to be warm pretty soon. It's not
I
going to be tough
know.
for it
You
to
can
be
always
ice.
buy ice.
Yeah. Are you going to do that too?
Yeah, I love doing ice baths.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've only done, so I do cold showers, but I've done like a polar plunge. We used to have access to Deep Creek Lake, and so I did that a couple times.
I want to do it in the natural like water.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, you can't feel your limbs after
I bet
30 seconds, but it's invigorating.
That's what, like, it's similar what we did. We went to the beach one time. It was spring break. And for some reason, you know, you go to the beach in like a cold time, you for some reason think it's going to be warm.
Yeah. It's not. No,
warm.
it's still freezing.
Yeah. And so me, him, and his little sister were like, all right, we're not coming to the beach not to get in the water. And so we literally just plunged in. And it was the coldest thing I've, like, I didn't know the ocean could get that cold. Yeah. And then the wind when you got out.
Oh, yeah. It'll wake you up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So in your, you know, with the fitness stuff, what kind of stuff do you put kids through? How do you teach them about nutrition? And, you know, like what if a kid that's overweight comes in that hasn't ever worked out? Do you teach them mindset first, or do you teach them small little things to get them started?
Yeah.
It's always the small little things.
Yeah.
And it's like in my head, listen, I don't care where you start as long as you start. It's just, it takes the steps every single day.
Yeah.
And you got to be committed, man, because there's going to be days you don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
I have those days too.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like perfect over
I
here.
don't
10
ever
out of
want to take a cold shower.
10. Exactly.
I say, do it.
You got to.
Don't look.
And that's where the true discipline comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel what really drives us, where most of us look for the outside motivation of watching the David Goggins videos. Like they're great. You get you fired. Like, I'm going to kick some ass today.
Yeah.
But then you gotta dig deeper in yourself and not rely on the outside and look inward. And what I mean is, why? Why am I doing this?
Right.
And I always tell kids, like, listen, man, you got to take care of yourself. Because I guarantee you want to take care of your family, right? You want to take care of your mom? Yeah. You want to take care of your dad? Of course. And you also want to help people, right? Of course. We all want to help people. Well, there's people who are counting on you every single day. There's people who are looking up to you. And if you don't take care of yourself, how will you ever do that?
Right.
I tell these kids every day, listen, one of my standards, because they always see my tattoo on my arm, like, ooh, you got a tattoo. I'm like, yeah, it says set the standard, man. And one of my standards is going to the gym, like, not every day, because I know that's not the best to let it grow. But I go to the gym consistently.
Right.
And I'm like, that's one of my standards. They're like, why? And I'm like, well, I got to. I got my parents counting on me. I got my future kids counting on me. My future family counting on me. If my parents, when they're older, they're like, I need you to carry me, I can carry them. If I need to carry my future kids, I can carry them. However, if I'm completely out of shape, I won't believe in myself. I'll have zero confidence. No one will believe anything I say because I don't believe in myself.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to carry or take care of my future kids or my future family. So everything starts tumbling down when you stop taking care of yourself. And I'm like, that's why I go to the gym. And I remember one kid, he's like, dude, that's tough. And I was like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I didn't really get into like working out until I started having panic attacks when I was like 25. It's a while back now. But that's what got me into it. And I was like, oh, as long as I keep doing this, I can usually stave off a fair amount of anxiety just by working out and doing, breathing techniques and stuff like that. Obviously eating well and stuff too. But that was like, this is a non-negotiable now, just because like I was, it was my fault. I was drinking 3 Red Bulls a day and like not eating enough.
That's nothing compared to what we used to do.
Gosh.
Yeah. But I was doing that to lose weight instead of actually working out, so and then I was sitting at a desk job forever. So it's like, at some point, there's going to be enough tension, energy but I didn't know. So I was watching Spider-Man 2 at the theater and I had to go to the emergency room from having a panic attack.
Wow.
Yeah. But, you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
So I'm careful with caffeine and stuff too. Or I just at least know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Man, we have some crazy stories about that. Caffeine.
Yeah.
Like which one?
Yeah. Like we used to take a lot of pre-workout.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like fired up. You feel the tingling. You're like,
Yeah.
ugh. I give it to my little brother one day. He's like, my heart hurts. I'm like, what do you mean, dude? That's not good. We're here to work out. What are you talking about? And he was just like running on the treadmill and stuff. But like our story was we went back to a nutrition place and I was like, would you have anything stronger? And he was just like, that's like the strongest on the market.
In the
dude.
back, we have crack.
Yeah, we got crack. And
I'm supposed to sell that, but
and I was just like, all right, we need to chill out.
Yeah.
The caffeine level is insane because we used to drink again like 5 Red Bulls and Monsters. I mean, this was even like a year ago.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Terrible.
Red Bull, coffee, pre-workout. It was kind of crazy. And
Yeah.
the funny part, I was like similar like you. Like growing up, I had a lot of anxiety because like that was just like how I was growing up. And then I had gone through the panic attacks and everything. And that's how my fitness journey started too.
Really?
Because my first panic attack, I was like 5th grade summer going into 6th grade. And, like, I literally started freaking out. Like, I was in the hospital, and they were like, nothing's wrong with you. I was like, there's something wrong. I can't breathe. Like, like the world's collapsing. And, like, I was in this whole scene, and it took a whole week for me to get out of, like, that whole moment. And I talked to my mom about it all the time, and she was just like, that was a week. I was like, I swear to you, it felt like it was just one whole long day.
yeah.
I didn't even, like, I did not realize what was going on. And I can't forget those moments, like, just growing up. So when I hit like that middle school time, and I was kind of going through a weight journey too, where I was really insecure about things. And so when I got thrown into like crop and volleyball and all this, I was like, the more I work out, the better I feel. And I don't feel that stuff. So if I just do more of it, and so that was really something.
Yeah.
Hey, she kicks ass.
Yeah.
She did
Yeah.
jujitsu.
Oh.
Yeah, she put me some headlocks. I'm like, damn it.
That's the one thing I wish I would have done. I watch
yeah.
UFC all the time, but like, I feel like starting it now is
Just
gonna
a cage
be-
fight.
Do it.
Really?
Do it. Yes.
Oh,
Oh, my
man.
gosh. The amount of people. No, seriously. Like it's so interesting to see people join jujitsu later on, or any type of sport almost. But I really love jujitsu.
Yeah.
It's a little my thing. But it's like you at first it feels like kind of awkward or like stiff or anything or like but once you get into it, you're like able to stretch. Like you didn't even know you could touch your toes, or like you didn't even know you could like.
I couldn't for a while there.
Both feet behind your head.
Or like there are just like you get to move and you actually feel better. You feel looser. You feel stronger, and it's just because again it's the consistency. It's
Right.
just like once you get past like the mental part of it, like your body starts to realize that you can move that way. It's natural to move certain ways, and so
Yeah, to not be, because a lot of people, me included, when you're sitting at a desk all the time, you're not going to be flexible. I do my Wednesdays and Fridays, I do like animal flow movement the last like year or so, just to be, I don't want to be old and not able to touch my toes, or like if I fall down, I break a hip or something. Like I have to worry about that now,
Yeah.
so I'm not like there later on. We were talking about Mike Hawkins. She told you about him, the surfer
shark
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
So he was on a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
And he's powerlifting at 70 years old.
Oh, I didn't even.
He's
know
70?
that.
Yeah.
Dude looks like
Awesome.
40.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, so it's an inspiration. Be like,
Yeah.
if you're doing it now, just keep doing it. Like my great aunt, she was like 98 when she passed, but she was swimming every day at the gym and stuff. And that's the reason I don't think she went downhill, for so long until COVID. But, So tell me again, now that we're not interrupted, about the engagement and going to Miami. You were saying about the hotel.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the most beautiful hotel you've ever seen. It's like walking in heaven. Like, I'm serious. Like, that place was crazy.
Have you been to Miami before that?
No.
Okay.
No, we heard, like...
You'll make it a staple.
Yeah.
We've been a few times.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I remember telling the guy up front, I was like, yeah, I'm about to engage, propose to my girlfriend. And he was like, oh, okay. Do you need us to do anything? I'm like, nah, I'm all good, man. Because I felt like $1,000 coming through, like the add-ons. And I was like,
selling you a timeshare or something.
Like, it's all good, man. It's all good. And he gave us the key. We walked up, and I was like, Carmen was like, oh my gosh, you got us this? And I was like, yeah.
I don't even know.
I was like, holy shit, I did get this. He actually hooked us up with like an insane suite.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, this is nuts.
Yeah, so you're getting married everywhere.
Yeah,
I know.
And we're like teenagers in there. We're like jumping on the bed and stuff, running around. We're like, dude, this is awesome. I'm like doing cartwheels. And I remember I was just like, I don't have like necessarily an entire crazy plan for the engagement.
Okay. Well, that was most of it. Just getting there. And,
getting there. And like getting her there to agree. Because she's like, I need to know what's going on. I'm like, no,
I'm
you
very,
don't.
like-
show you.
Yeah. Just close your eyes. And I remember, like, it was just an intuition. Like, we were talking about, like faith for a minute. And it was just I'm just like, trust myself. Like, trust whatever voice is in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So we actually went to breakfast first. Actually, this was the previous day. We went to breakfast first. And, like, I didn't really understand her. We didn't understand her.
The lady at the front, so she had a little bit of a heavy accent.
Oh, okay.
So we were like, okay, yeah, how much? We were going to eat breakfast anyways, but we were just like, oh, how much is it going to be? And she was like, we thought she said 16.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was
I'm
60,
like,
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, 16. I'm like, dude, this is a nice
make it
IHOP.
double.
No, I was like, can I stay here all day?
And then we got the bill. It was like 200. I was like,
Because it was like all the add-ons that we were like. I was like,
Double bacon.
yeah. I was just like, damn. I was like, all right, that hurt a bit, but hey, that was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, it was, so we went to the beach in the front, and we know the exact street, the exact like
22nd
lifeguard
Street.
house.
Yeah.
And I was just walking her there, and I was just like, I'm just gonna take the ring. I was like, I don't really know. I'm just trusting my gut right now.
Yeah.
And we're walking along the beach, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And it was crazy because the clouds were covering, and it looked like it was about a thunderstorm. But for some reason, it just parted.
Oh.
Right where we were, and you see the sunshine, and we have the picture and the video.
Now.
Yeah. And this was when Carmen was doing like all of our media.
Yeah.
So she was like, Nick, let's do TikToks. And I was just like, oh, I'm not big on that. and we're just like just making like some funny skits and stuff. And I was like, you know what, let's make one. And this was perfect because I was like, I didn't get a video cameraman. I didn't get anything. I was like, so she was like excited to do a TikTok. And you could see the video where she was so confused and lost. And it was recording. Her phone was recording. And that's when everything happened.
That's perfect.
Got
Especially
down on my
not
knee.
having someone there to do it for you.
It was just like spontaneous. And I love that. We both love spontaneous. And again, the clouds parted. The sunshine was there. And I was just like, dude, this couldn't be better.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always say I wasn't necessarily nervous. I was just so excited. I didn't know what to say. And I had everything prepared in my head. I'm like, oh, that's going to sound so good. She's going to cry. I'm like, this is going to be amazing. And I went there. I was like,
Yeah, I did the same thing. I did the same thing. We just did it. Like our family was there on Thanksgiving. But I had like this thing that I was going to say, and I just got down on a knee and was like, will you marry me? So like couldn't think of anything else,
Yeah.
So, well, that's awesome though. So you had the rest of your time in Miami. How long were you there?
Yeah.
3 days?
like, yeah, it was around 3
Days,
days.
yeah.
How do you know that?
Facebook, just like the kids
Oh,
do.
yeah. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, just like the kids do. No, that's awesome though. So do you have like plans yet?
Oh yeah. We've been
Okay.
planning. We don't have a specific date just because. So we're Catholic, so we're getting married in the church, and then we're having our reception at a location, and so kind of aligning those. We're just working on that part.
time part, yeah.
It's going to be in August, and so
Okay.
once we get everything set, then we'll start setting.
This coming August?
Yes.
You better pick a
yeah.
date.
I know.
That's like
That's
this week's
coming out
list.
quick.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy, but
That's great though.
we're confident. it'll
So you
work
say you're
out.
Catholic. Did you grow up Catholic? Both of you did.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a really good journey, too.
Yeah, that was a
Because-
journey in itself.
That's when we were actually in the All Saints parking lot.
Okay, talking
So,
about
Yeah,
faith and stuff?
it's like talking about faith because all our lives we're told we are something or we're told to do something. We're like
Why?
Why? Like, let me question it. Like, this was when we're learning everything.
They don't like that.
Yeah. like just questioning yourself. Like, why am I this? Like, why did I grow up this? Or why do I have this? Or why am I this certain faith? Mm-hmm. And then we just really started to deep dive and we started exploring and understanding, asking a bunch of questions. Mm-hmm. That's how you get everything together, is asking questions.
Yeah.
And again, we do it because we found ourselves in it, not because we're raised to do it. And that
but you were both raised Catholic?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think we were also lucky enough to have a journey where we had people who were in Catholicism who were very open and non-judgmental and were like actually open to having the conversations. And so that really helped being able to have those conversations with different people or different priests that we knew we could trust about having the conversation versus someone that we felt like, oh, they're just going to try and convince us. No, let's have an open, actual serious conversation about it.
I grew up non-denominational, but I also went to like a Pentecostal church for youth group and stuff like that. They didn't like questions. Well, some pastors were really cool, but if I have like fundamental problems I have with the Bible, then they weren't able to just say, well, I'm not sure. They had to have a reason, but it just didn't add up sometimes. But I mean, all my albums are Christian-based stuff.
Yeah,
you know. And I kind of had a falling away in my 30s, but now I'm like reconstructing what that looks like, and without anyone else telling me what it was. Because the experiences I've had are like, I believe the Holy Spirit's real. I just don't know if all the other BS is real. Some of it is, you know, and figuring that out, I just kind of went along with whatever they said, and it was working. You know, if you follow it, even if it's you don't think it's true, it's still better for you. Then, you know, you have a better life. But it doesn't give you that, you know, spiritual connection to anything either. You know, so
that was us. Like when we grew up, it was like we went to the CCD school, we went to all these different things, and it's like I never wanted to go. I was just like, and I was just like always dreading it. And I never questioned why. Why am I this faith?
Right.
Why am I here? Like just let me ask all these questions myself. We just went on a deep dive research.
Like you said, I feel like I feel like it's a common theme when we talk about faith a lot. It's like when you choose to do it, like really learn about it like your own way, like without the outsider voices telling you what to think. I think that's when it's the strongest. Yeah. Because again, it's like because now you're choosing to do it. It's no longer like it's like if your parents tell you to take out the trash, but you're already doing it. Now you don't want to do it because they told you.
Right here,
or your wife. That too. There you go. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of like this. It was the truth. Why would I question? I mean, my parents are great, so why would and all our family and everyone that kind of believe the same thing. Why would I think there is anything else? You know. But then exploring in college and stuff, and I was like, okay, well. You know, I'm not sure they didn't like that, but that's like, I wish they would have been a little bit more, you just, you know, figure it out. And we're here to answer whatever we know. Yeah. So it's cool that you guys have people to actually go to for that.
You caught my attention on something. And this is what I love talking about. We both love talking about this, is the term shy. Okay. And I say this because we grow up in a certain way. Well, this happened to me when we're told, like that we have a certain label of who we are. We didn't really come up with that. We were just told that we are that. Yeah. And I remember when I was younger, my parents would be like, oh, this is Nick. Oh, he's a little shy right now. And then everything I do, I just be shy. I'd act shy. And I just, maybe that's just me. Right. And like this person right now, I built who I am today. Right. But there was a point where everything was just like, it was capped that I'm a shy person. I'm this and that. And it like disgusts me to even say it because it's like the labels that people put on you. And it's not necessarily that you believe it, it's just you trust them. Right. So it's like when you go to the doctors, you trust them, even though they say that you have a problem, and you're like...
I don't trust doctors that much.
I don't either. I don't either. Yeah, they're like, you have a problem? I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah. Like, that is me now, but like in the past, they're like, you have a problem. I'm like, okay, you're right. They say this and this, and you start to believe it so much that you start to become that. And... I remember, like, it happens with parents, it happens with teachers, it happens with friends. They put a label on you, you start believing it because they have the authority. Right. And that happened with faith, too. Right. And that's something that I despise a bit, is letting other people's identity and label put on you it's just you just need to get away from the crowd, the
Yeah.
noise, like Carmen said, and just figure out yourself of how can I build myself instead of believing everyone else because they have authority.
Yeah. If you haven't read it, Courage to be Disliked is a great book. I need to reread it because it's been like 3 or 4 years, but it's essentially how it's like you have a task to figure your own BS out, and their task is to figure themselves out. And like that's the obviously very short version of it, but there's so much. It goes through like a story of this older guy who's teaching all the lessons, and there's this younger guy that's kind of pushing back and doesn't understand it. So it's just through actual conversations that they're having.
Those are the best books.
Yeah, it's
Like the
really
Go-Giver.
good.
Have you read the Go-Giver? It's just like that.
Or Alchemist.
Crazy.
Have you read Alchemist?
No, I gotta
that's
catch
good.
up.
We're gonna give you. That'll be your gift.
All right, you guys
Like
read that. I'll read those. But I mean, I'm kind of in a season that I probably should be reading some new or just something. Like I do a lot with audiobooks while I'm working out, just because only so much time that you have. So I can at least get some sort of,
Dude, I gotta listen to like hard rock music. Like
Yeah.
80s music, yeah. Like when I try to do like the audio, like while
Why
working out.
80s? You don't like current stuff?
No, I'm all 80s.
What about 2000s rock? I can.
He's like, what about?
I know some. I got a couple CDs if you can find a CD player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah. I mean,
You raised on 80s rock?
yeah.
Okay.
My dad
Yeah.
and my grandfather. I remember he gave me like harmonicas. He gave
Nice.
me a lot of like rock CDs.
Nice.
And my dad did as well. And I believe Carmen and I we grew to have like these old hearts, like the
Yeah.
cars, the style, the
Yeah.
music, and it's just. Yeah.
I think the people we also hung out with when we started getting, I mean, like, I think we both, like, we both already liked rock. I think I was more into, like, modern rock, but when I met Nick, I was like, oh, it's very similar. It's kind of
Yeah.
like,
That's where it came from.
yeah.
You know.
And, who's that band? It's like,
Hippie?
the young people,
Oh, Greta Van Fleet?
Greta
Greta
Van
Van
Fleet.
Fleet, yeah.
Yeah, like, I love them because
Yeah.
they've taken that old music to, like, a modern twist.
Yeah.
And no one's done that.
Yeah, and it's so amazing. I love it. I love
And
it.
he's got a crazy good voice too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember Carmen asked me that the other day. She's like, why are you like obsessed with like 80s like rock? And I'm like, well, I really like it because they just went outside of everyone's standards. Like they made their own standards. They chose their own path. Everyone said you should go to this job, you should be this person.
Yeah.
And they just went, I'm gonna start a band. Like, hell?
Yeah.
I started a band, and sometimes it wasn't for like the greatest reasons.
Right. Again, back to the crack. The part of it,
They were waiting back
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So you're playing guitar now. How long have you been playing?
I don't even know. I've just been like messing around with guitar,
Yeah.
but this year I've like taken it so serious. Like I'm playing the chords. Like I was playing War Pigs. I realized when I played the Black Sabbath song, it was wrong. I was like, dude, I already posted it. I was like, whatever. But it's like now I know how to play it better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If you play well, I need to get back into it too. So 10 minutes a day is all you really need.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then that usually turns into more. But if you can just sit down and do it. Like I was going through a big time of like producing music, and I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down for 20 minutes a day. And then like 2 hours later, I'd have like a song pretty much done. But now I don't need that because AI can write everything.
That's so crazy.
True. That is crazy.
It's crazy. So you guys are doing for the Chamber of Commerce, you have the Bold, what is it, initiative or group or what?
Yeah, I think
It's a council.
Council?
is it council?
Yeah.
I always get confused with the council
Council
committees
committee,
and
yeah.
everything.
There's so many of them. Jeez.
Yeah, so that was a really awesome initiative. I think Bob kind of like he had the image in his head, and then like
He's a visionary.
yeah, he's a really good
I love it.
visionary. And then like the people that surround him have been really good at like putting it into action. Like he'll find the people, and then they'll kind of bring it together. And so we've been working with Astrid and Rachel, and then us, and then whoever and Eugene, whoever was like willing to like figure out what this thing was going to be.
Yeah.
And we just started inviting people, and we were like, we don't know what it is yet, but we're going to invite everyone.
I mean, that's how you start to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So you had a meeting, a couple days ago?
yeah.
last week?
It was like
last
like,
week, something like that.
3 weeks ago or
Looked
something.
like a good turnout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's again for us like leadership is important, and it's not a dictatorship where we're gonna go in there. It's gonna be like this. It's gonna be like this, and we're just like, what does everyone want in here? What do you want out of it?
Yeah.
And a lot of it came down to everyone wants to learn still. We all have a student
Yeah.
and a mentor mindset.
Yeah.
We want to learn. We want to grow together, and we also want to just talk.
Yeah.
Get used to socializing again. I didn't realize that at our age it was something that is like they need because
Yeah.
like right now, dude, I can talk. Like I love networking. I tell Carmen like I'm like a crackhead when there's no networking events because I'm like, I need to talk to people, dude.
Yeah. And so, well, I mean, it's tough going through an entrepreneurial thing, being in your 20s or early 30s. Like, there's not a lot of your friends doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And like talking about your successes or failures or whatever, they don't have the same. They showed up to work and then they had their fun on the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, or they got their time off to go on a vacation. That's pretty much it. But they're not building like a legacy or an empire or whatever it is, you know. So having people to go through that with is good. And the chamber is like super connected. I mean, I've only done it for like a month now, but I've met a lot of people. They're sucking me into being an ambassador, I think.
Oh, join the group.
Don't I need an ambassador? I just joined.
Hey, you can be your ambassador.
Yeah, we can be your ambassador.
Boom.
Perfect.
Show you around.
I'll sign off on that. So, you know, you guys do a lot of networking. Is that where kind of the business started to take off when you started doing that? Was there one thing in particular? Was it the chamber, or was it just doing it a lot and eventually word gets out?
Just doing it a lot.
Yeah.
I believe
a lot.
Like one of like my biggest
Too much?
one of my biggest mentors right now is Andy Elliott, and he always says insight in mind, and that really stuck with me. But before even like we started going to Andy's events and everything, it was another coach we had, and he always said, like, just people want to see your face. They want to see you. They want to see the brand. They want to see who you are. They want the relationship building.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what a lot of people are missing out on. They say they show up to events, but then they're not active. Or they don't show up to events and they say that they want to be active, but when are you going to take action to go out there, man?
Right.
Or
just to
like,
shake someone's hand, ask them what they do, why they do it.
Yeah.
it was like Million Cups. Have you been to Million Cups yet?
Yeah, a few times.
So that's one of those. I feel like it's the easiest local place to like get connected.
Yeah.
Because it's free, people show up. It's like, and you can contribute, but also there's lots to take away.
Right.
Right. And so one of the speakers was talking, and one of the biggest things that I noticed the conversation was like, you either only show up when you need something from the crowd,
Yeah.
or you show up and you don't say anything. Right. And so sometimes, again, the hard conversations, it wasn't in any mean place. It was just, these are very important things to like know when you're out networking. Like, if we're in the chamber and, like, it's a committee and people are like, do you guys have questions? Sometimes I'll throw out the dumb random question because it's like, if I can start the conversation, like, something gets going. Right. And so you can build relationships off that, because that's how you get, like, you start to connect memories with people. You start to, like, oh, because this happened, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
and so on. But same thing, Million Cups. It's like, sometimes we're writing all these ideas, even if it's one random small little idea, like throw your hand up, like be active in the networking event, be active in the conversation, like push yourself and be uncomfortable. Like sometimes it is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. I've gone through my seasons of when I started kind of getting into networking and stuff, I had been in bands, but that was, you know, several years ago. So it had been a long time since I was in front of people, you know, and on the stage. And then I was singing. I wasn't like pitching my business or anything. So it's a little bit more difficult for a lot of people. So I can't imagine. I had the experience of, I can do this. So just get over it, you know, push yourself, take a cold shower, do some breathing exercises and just go do it, which is exactly what happened. But I think it would be pretty difficult to be like a super introvert and running a business, like a local business. I don't really know how you
can't.
I don't. You have to force yourself out of it.
Yeah.
You know, you might be introverted by nature, then just go watch your Netflix when you get home, but you have to like put it on.
Yeah, you really do.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, is there any like, so with the chamber, any advice of being my ambassadors?
Show up as much as you
Just show up as much as you can. Yeah.
Just be proactive in
Yeah.
like what we do. Like every week and every month is we just schedule like the events, and that's why
what I did this
people
month.
are like,
yeah.
how the hell do you do this? And I'm like, well, first
Time
of all,
management.
our agenda, like our calendar looks like what is it?
Tetris.
Yeah, it's like crazy, and you just keep track of it. Just manage your time,
Right.
activities.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's good to know. I mean, I that's what everyone told me to do. So I'm just going to do that for like at least from now until June and just kind of see
where it goes. Yeah.
I met with Eugene yesterday. He wants me to like,
He's
like I
awesome.
said, be an ambassador and like all this other stuff. I'm like, it's a lot to take in right now. So I'm just going to.
I want to say something real quick. This was one thing.
When he says that, it makes me nervous.
I know. She's like, what are you going to say? I remember when we started networking, I was just like, what does everyone do? Everyone says, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
They always say that question.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tiffany reminded me of that yesterday.
Yeah, no. I don't say that anymore, but I always think, we both think, like outside the box. Like go the path, like where all the sheep are going, be a lion in the room. And I remember why is everyone showing up? Someone said it, and they were like, everyone's showing up to sell something.
Yeah.
How many people are here to buy? Zero.
Zero.
And I was just like, what if instead of going to events to try to take, we give.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're putting deposits in the bank of giving.
Right.
And then one time you ask, they're like, yeah. That's like the law of reciprocity.
Yeah,
You keep giving. They feel obligated to give you something. And it's just, you're out there with a good intention, though.
Right.
Not here, I'm going to give to this guy, and he's gonna give me something.
Well, you guys are selling a very niche thing.
Yeah.
I don't have any kids, so how am I going to give you my business, But by being friends with you, I told the shark guy about you. I mean, you already were on top of it, but, it's on top of mind if you have a relationship with people beyond just like what they sell. And that's part of the reason I'm doing this too. So I can get like a deeper dive, help you guys like with whatever marketing stuff I get from it, but actually know more about what it is that you do. So that way I can, when I'm ever doing stuff, I can let people know.
Yeah.
So do you want to get like more special guests and that sort of stuff for you guys, like at events or speaking engagements?
Oh yeah. We always need speakers, especially for Accelerator. What we're doing is we're taking and you can be an entrepreneur or a career professional, whatever it is. Like we want people that will come in, be open as possible, tell them about your career journey, because
story, not like a
Yeah.
PowerPoint. Everyone falls asleep.
Yeah.
and the reason why, like we love the
Not with my PowerPoints.
Shit, you gotta show me that now.
I feel like wait, what was I saying?
Just having
Like
people
career
for the
professional.
accelerator and stuff come in.
Accelerator. The story is because kids right now, from what we heard from like all the teachers and conversations with the kids, they're like afraid that they're not perfect enough, or that they're not gonna do it right. And it's like, dude, trust me, there is no right.
Right.
Like whatever you end up doing, either just do it consistently enough and it'll work out, or be okay with it flexing and changing and
Yeah.
moving. And so I feel like everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own journey, their fails, their times they get to laugh at now. And so being
Yeah,
able
we have
to,
a lot. I mean, we're pretty young, and I'm just like, what the hell?
Just wait till you're my age. You won't stop laughing.
it's just being able to show these kids that it's like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be so serious about it. I mean, yes, take your life serious, but also be okay with you're really going to suck at this really bad sometimes.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And
Life
that's
goes through it.
normal.
Well, yeah, exactly. But if you don't start it, you'll never get better. But you have to you're going to fail a lot. But it's not failure if you get back up and keep, doing it. So, I mean, I started guitar because I was at a retreat in the UK and I felt like God told me to start playing guitar.
Yeah.
I never would have done it if that didn't happen.
That's crazy.
So then I started doing it and I wasn't good. but I had like this thing I'm supposed to do this. So I did it and then I got better. But that taught me that, I can kind of do anything. You just have to be okay with sucking at it.
Yeah.
For a while.
And putting the work in.
Yeah.
That's
How bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? That's literally everything. Confidence,
I am
self-esteem.
dunking a basketball tomorrow.
Do it. Do it. You have to stay outside and do it.
There are some 8-foot rims up there. I might be able to do that still.
I actually have some hops. I remember from going to the gym, I can almost touch the rim.
Yeah.
You guys can work on that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be your bonding time.
But I mean, how bad do you want it? That's the real thing, And most people, they don't know how bad they want it.
No, that just reminded me of one of my favorite quotes that I just remembered. I watched this video a long time ago, and it for some reason it keeps popping back up, like on my reels. Obviously, like they figured me out. It's
Start
like
a new account.
right? It's like there's always the people that are hungry, and then there's people who just want to eat.
Oh yeah.
It's like you can see it in everything. Like the example the video gives is like there's a student who shows up to practice every day and he's hungry. He wants to make it happen. He doesn't got a lot at home. He doesn't have a lot at home, but he's like he'll make it work because he wants to make it work. And then there's the kid, right, who comes in. He's just like, "No, I'm just hungry. I'll take something out of the fridge. Like I'll just do it because it's there.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity." Like,
And he has the best gear, but there's no drive.
It's like there's no drive, right? And obviously those two have different situations, but it's like no matter what situation, even if you flip-flopped it, there'll always be someone that'll be hungry for it, that'll want it, and someone that's just like in there.
And it comes down from the why. Why? Why are you so driven? Like, why are you going mad? Like, why are you so obsessed? Like, are you wearing that shirt right now?
What am I wearing?
You are wearing it. Be obsessed or be average. It's how obsessed are you? And I feel people get scared when they hear that quote.
Right.
Be obsessed or be average.
As long as it's not with some girl on Instagram that you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely.
Be obsessed with something that's good for yourself.
Exactly. Be obsessed with something good for yourself, and that's self-explanatory.
Yeah. It's so tough for people to turn that corner, but I think it's really cool that you guys are helping, the next generation. Like, it's only going to be, exponential where they're going to be at and the people that they're going to be able to help. Like, that's got to feel pretty good to do now. I mean, so do you want to do this forever, or do you just want to do it for, we want to build sort of a coaching empire, or?
Yeah.
Come on, go spit it out. Spit out the vision.
Definitely. I think we know the vision is really to have like these buildings all over the world.
Okay.
And it's like these big places where kids have access to this type of coaching and more. I think that there's so many versions. I think coaching in general has become like this flexible version of how to give someone access to something faster. And sometimes it is a little more expensive, but it can be covered through so many other things. Like, I think if you took money out of the picture, like that can be solved by so many other things. I mean, we figured out that people will do sponsorships, people will do this, X, Y, Z. So it's like, if we can just take that out of the picture and just give the people the access to the information and the things that they can have, then it can solve a lot of things faster. Oh, same quote from yesterday. It was, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure.
Benjamin Franklin.
And it's
I
like-
believe it
Really?
is.
I think it's Benjamin Franklin. But it's like, if you just give an ounce of prevention to people, like if you just give them access to this information younger, or even no matter where you are in life, like you're preventing more to happen and you're starting a new cycle of something better, the cure, right? And so I guess that's a smaller version of the big picture.
So how does that work financially? Would you guys buy the buildings, or would you like work with nonprofits, or are you guys going to turn into a nonprofit at some point? Or are you going to stay?
No, just stay for profit, buy the buildings, and just keep building our empire like that. And we're going to create other businesses as we go.
Right.
As
and those
it
can
runs
help
itself.
fund some things too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not going to be a just give everything away for free, because then it's not valuable anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and then partnering with, for some of the payments and stuff, like partnering with, other companies to buy the buildings or to do like the events and stuff. Like as you scale, it's going to, as you get connected in like a particular county, there's so many businesses that want to be doing something good, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah. And a lot of them have budget set aside every year that they have to like spend. And sometimes they get to the point where it's like, they just have all of this and they're like, okay, quickly just find something.
Buy a truck.
This to. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of help, some kids in the community. I mean, that's essentially the thing.
Yeah.
So how do kids like stay like in do you use High Level? Is that what you're using for like, or Facebook groups, or like how do they stay connected outside of the physical when you're actually there with them?
So we use the Band app right now. Everything's on Band. Our website and everything can have that, but I feel like because everyone's on sports, like they already know how to run it. And so that seems to be, has been the easiest version for the kids to use. And then sometimes we have parents join. So we just had to find something that was like accessibly easy, that we didn't have to like run a Zoom class
Do a tutorial.
on how to do it.
Yeah.
Saves time.
Yeah. That's cool. And what's like a price point for coaching? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but if you, I can cut it out.
No, I'm totally open to it.
Yeah. So our one-to-one coaching there's only one package because it's a 90-day program.
Okay.
And so that one's $14.97.
Okay.
And
that's not too bad.
Yeah. And it's like the whole package. They get not just one-to-one coaching every week. They also get the Elite Leaders class, which is our online 30-minute Socratic kind of class for the kids. So kids, middle school and then high school, so two different groups, they get to meet together and kind of have those bigger conversations. A lot of them have come to us like really grateful for it, because when you're at school, I mean, that's not really the conversation you have with your friends, that's not the typical day to day. But being able to have a space to talk about that stuff has been really good for the kids. That class just alone, that's just $97 a month. It can be a subscription and kids just join into the class.
And that's over Zoom?
Yeah, so that one's over Zoom.
Thank you, COVID, right?
Right?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
crazy. It's
QR
crazy.
codes and Zoom, man.
QR codes are
Innovation.
No one used QR codes. They were around for 15 years and no one used them.
I didn't even know that.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't even know Zoom was a thing.
Yeah, really? Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. So that's like not a bad price point at all to have your kid like actually learning something and investing in them. So yeah, that's really cool.
It's always showing the value.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Do you have like kids in the ones that are located closer? Do that you have like meetups or whatever, or like, I don't know, go to the mall or something and do some racing or something like some fun stuff? I don't know.
We actually have a Nerf night this Saturday.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we have the high school. We always give high schoolers like that responsibility position to like work with the kids. So they're coming in as either captains or buddies, and then middle school and elementary will come in and they'll do like their Nerf battles and everything, and then
we have Officer TJ coming in, so we get to play with a cop.
Okay.
Nerf guns. Yeah. I'm like, hey,
He might be pretty good. He might be pretty good.
And he's a Marine.
Do you guys have any like scholarships or anything that you do, or do you do? Okay.
Yeah, so we'll do something similar. So we call it our partnership program. So we work with certain places so that certain kids, because we know like not everyone can afford it, but they may really need it. They're very committed.
Yeah.
And so again, they do still go through that process of like, are you committed to this?
Right.
Because
especially if someone else is paying for you.
Yeah.
It's not going to work if you're not, like, we can give you everything 100%, but if you're not willing to do it, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And the cool part is like our after school program, schools and counties have actually been paying for that. So the kids get free access to it, and it's really, really awesome. But our awesome liaisons that work at the school, they've been calling.
They're killing it.
They're so amazing. I hope they keep that position. But when they call parents to say, hey, there's this program, they tell the parents, your kids received a scholarship to be in this program. So like we've noticed that when a kid, like if someone, no matter where you are, if your parent pays for it, it's like, oh, my parent.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
But you've been chosen.
Yeah, when you're like someone
chosen.
invested.
Yeah, that's what I heard in my head when you did that.
I need that as a sound effect.
That would be awesome. But it's like when someone actually invests into you, that's someone you don't even know, or like the title of Micron or Amazon, or someone like really cool like that. They're like, they chose me.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
shit.
and so that's what we did with Accelerator. We made it our job to raise the funds for that and look for businesses locally that would pay for the kids. So each seat is $1,500. And so each seat was covered by some business that we're shouting out and giving them sponsorships for.
Yeah.
But the kids, when they come in, it's like each one of your seats, which was worth this, and a business paid for you. Someone already believes in you. So it's time to kick some ass in this class.
Yeah.
Like,
So go buy a roof from the people. No, I mean, that's really awesome. I mean, I didn't know you guys did that. So we'll have to get that out with like Old Town Strong and stuff that you guys do that. And how often are you going to have the accelerator thing? Just see how
Forever.
often. Just,
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, is it like once a quarter?
So it's every 12 weeks. So like we have a spring, summer, fall cohort every year. And we think I scheduled all the dates out until 2026. So
Nice.
You're set.
I mean, busy.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
That's what we love doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on today. How can people find you? Because of why.com. And I'm assuming that's the Instagram and stuff and handles and everything too.
Yeah, everything's because of why.
Okay.
Funny enough, someone already had our URL, so it's because of why.com.
Yeah.
Oh.
So people call us. They call us. It's because of why. And I'm like, who the hell? I was like,
Oh, the domain. Well, that's great. Well, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. The best of luck to you.
yeah. Thanks, Mike.